Hi everybody, it's Nikki, and I'm here to do another video that's my personal experience, not to be used as medical advice. I think it's pretty accurate information, but I can't be sure. It is some Medtronic hearsay. I spoke with Medtronic last night for about an hour and a half, got a great representative. We had a great phone call. It was lots of information about sensors and everything from filaments to ISIG values and sensor updating. And there was so much good information that I decided to write it down and pass it on to the Facebook group last night, where I got good feedback and realized that it was probably good enough information, Medtronic backed, to put in a video and pass on to whoever may be looking. So I'm just going to get to it. About 9.5 items. They were, the phone call came as a result of my wanting to understand marinating or wetting the sensor. I used to do it in my old sensors. I don't do it on the 670G, and I haven't since the day I've gotten it. So I don't know anything about it, and I can't even remember how to do it. And I definitely don't know how to do it now that when you connect the transmitter, it automatically takes you to a new sensor. So I was asking. So my question to him was basically, why do people marinate? What's the purpose? How do we do it? And what can we expect from it? With those questions in mind, this is the way the conversation went. First of all, he said, Medtronic used to recommend wetting or marinating for older generation sensors, but they no longer believe it to be necessary. They used to prefer people to get about 24 hours of wetting the sensor prior to starting it. But they now believe the 2-hour warm-up period of the new sensors is all it takes to accomplish the same thing. So he said they don't discourage it, but at the same time, they just no longer believe it to be necessary the way it once was. Medtronic believes some people may have difficulty with accuracy during the first day to day and a half. Because the sensor is a foreign body, and I did in my reading on sensor technology, it's called foreign body response. Our own bodies need some time getting used to it. It can take up to 24 hours to 36 hours for our bodies to adjust and to accept it, and then for readings to become more accurate. During this period, most people find that there can be, during this period, some people might find that their SG values might fall outside of 20% of their BG readings, and they said this is to be expected/accepted. It's considered normal. Anything outside that window, it's to be expected that within 20% is standard, it's basically standard performance. But that first day or day and a half, you might get some stuff outside of it. I'm not bragging, but I'm going to say I don't have any problems with my first day or day and a half, but I hear so many people that do that's too bad. And now I'll start having it. So there's that. And that's what I get. Okay, so number 3, the sensor's tip is a platinum electrode. He said the words, so I wrote them down. The only thing that this seemed to be important, for was the fact that some people's body, he said they chose this substance because it was supposed to be very good with people's insides. But that some people, their bodies won't accept it. He said, so some people basically are doomed, and from day one on these sensors, they will never have any luck with them. And there's that. Okay, so the next one, number 4, he says, about the 2-hour warm-up period. This is part of the question, is when wetting the sensor or when marinating the sensor, does it affect your 2-hour warm-up period? Lots of people say this is why they do it. And some people say that it's for accuracy. Some people say it's to reduce that warm-up period. According to Sunday afternoon Medtronic representative, that 2-hour warm-up period is unavoidable. He says any reduction in the warm-up period is coincidence, and it wouldn't amount to anything more than a 15 to 30-minute reduction. He also says that whether or not the transmitter is attached is irrelevant. So for people who leave sensors in overnight, Rob Lawrence, with their sensors turned off, of course, he said for the people who say that they're leaving it overnight and they wake up that they're still going to enter a 2-hour warm-up period, Rob Lawrence. I think that you say you don't. I believe you. But they say you do. So there's that. They also said about overnight marinating, for the people who are putting in their sensor and not attaching their transmitter, he said they get lots of calls for replacements because sensors aren't taped down and people knock them out while sleeping. Therefore, Medtronic doesn't recommend it. I skipped one. He also said that the practice of wetting the sensor is for accuracy, not for warm-up length. So, FU Diabetes Food, my second favorite site. They say your mileage may vary, and I'm like, that's what keeps popping up in my mind on every single one of these items is your mileage may vary. I'm not calling Medtronic a liar. I really am not. I'm just saying that they might not necessarily have it all down right. Okay, number 7. This one I thought was just interesting, and your mileage may vary. He also explained that the coating on the sensor was meant to remain intact for 7 days. As soon as the coating enters the interstitial fluid, it begins reacting to it. He said some people's bodies are just going to wear that down faster, and they're not going to get anything more than 4 or 5 days out of their sensor. If I were one of those people, I'd be a little bit upset. My interstitial fluid also misbehaves from time to time, but that would be irritating to have all sensor crappiness be a result of my interstitial fluid. And I kind of think that, I don't know, maybe that's true, maybe that's not true. Medtronic says don't blame us, blame your interstitial fluid. I don't know who you check with on that one. That's a tough one. Okay, 7.5. Here are some bonus words. He says that it is, I asked him, so if the coating is good for 7 days and people are marinating, some people for up to 12 to 24 hours, wouldn't that then reduce the length of their sensor life? And he says it's very reasonable to assume that exposing the sensor coating to the interstitial fluid for an additional 12 to 24 hours might result in shorter lifespans due to the sensor coating's degradation. I think he just repeated everything I said and then just put in the word might and reasonable and wrapped that up as an answer. Again, the coating is thought to be good for 7 days. I don't marinate, and I started to see degradation at around day 6 anyway, but as I said, my interstitial fluid is known to misbehave a little bit. So, number 8, our ideal blood sugar range for calibrating is 90 to 200. It is not recommended to calibrate with anything outside of that range, as it might affect your sensor's accuracy and increase chances of spontaneous combustion. That was my joke, Marjorie Peterson, and he didn't think it was funny either. I thought it was very funny. Okay, and the last one, number 9. This one was actually excellent information, and worthy of a very serious tone. Somebody in my group a week ago maybe put up a picture of their ISIG history, and their ISIG values were jumping around from like a 7 to like a 358 and then a 13 to whatever. Like clearly something was wrong. I had never seen anything like it. I don't even know how to calculate a 358. So I didn't know what to tell him. Then during yesterday's call, the representative began to describe this, and he actually gave it a name. And this is what he said. He said large shifts in ISIG values, such as 8 to 200 or 8 to 350 or whatever, and back again, are often a sign of something called pistoning. And he said pistoning, which is exactly the way it sounds, is where the tube, his term, is sliding in and out of the skin or the interstitial fluid. The result is an ISIG that bounces high to low and back again. This is why Medtronic recommends adhesive when we get sensor updating messages. I think at any point throughout the sensor life, I'm really thinking about between days 2 and 5. And he said that oftentimes it has loosened, the tube is sliding in and out, and it's giving these bouncy ISIG values, therefore triggering a sensor updating, so slap on some adhesive. That's a very good explanation, and the reason I like it even more is because your next sensor updating, instead of just going, why are you sensor updating, you could go back to your ISIG history and look for evidence of it. If you are pistoning, it's going to be in your ISIG history, I think. I don't actually have any idea, but that sounds very reasonable. And if you are pistoning, then slap on some extra adhesive, because that's a solution in a world of very few solutions. I should have ended this 10.5 minutes ago. Okay, I thought some of this information was fantastic. I thought some of it just didn't jive with what everyday wearers report. If you have anything to say at all, and I know you guys don't, I would love to hear it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.